was pretty much a big linchpin of this drug operation that I know you're very happy to have taken down. Doesn't mean that the work's all done yet, though, does it?
No, the work's not done yet, but over the last 2 years, like you said, it culminated last Thursday by an operation that worked to round up drug dealers, not only in Indiana County, Johnstown, New Kensington, Phoenix, Arizona, Wichita, Kansas, Seattle, Washington, Minneapolis. It was a countrywide drug bust that started here in Indiana County.
Yeah. Take me back to the very beginning of that and how an investigation like this gets off the ground, because there's an awful lot of coordination that has to go on.
Sure. So we had, a few years ago, we did a drug operation. Members of our drug task force and municipal police around our county had a drug bust just like any other drug bust. We've always heard the statement where you try to work up the ladder, where you're looking for small time, maybe people who are using drugs and selling it to support their habit. We're trying to get further up the ladder to the major drug dealers to really have a very significant impact in drug trafficking. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, we had one of those cases where, we were able to move up one rung of the ladder, and then it moved up another. And there's a lot of partnerships that go in it. It's not just a couple police officers here in the county. Once we get high enough in that ladder, now we have our partners in the FBI, our partners in Homeland Security, all of the state and federal authorities. The team is probably about 30 or 40 different agencies deep, and it just continues to grow and grow to a point where, when we sat and looked at the operation, we realized it's multiple states, mm-hmm. multiple jurisdictions, and we're going to get some very significant drug dealers arrested.
Yeah. The interesting thing to me about it all is there's so much happening behind the scenes that we'll never know about, and that's correct. It should be that mm-hmm. way. But it involves not just following a paper trail, following a line of communications, because cell phones are, while they're a great boon to the people who are conducting these things, they leave records, they leave trails to follow. And certainly you follow all of that evidentiary trail. But there's also some great skill in interviewing suspects and in learning information the old-fashioned way, too, isn't there?
There is a lot of information that is gained from the members of our task force because they know how to interview the individuals that are being arrested. They know how to gather the information from people who are involved in the drug trade throughout the county, throughout the area. They work very diligently to build partnerships with other law enforcement communities. A drug dealer is not going to come up to a border and say, I'm not going to go into Indiana County. I'm going to stay here in one county. Mm-hmm. They go anywhere. And the members of our law enforcement work very diligently to build out their professional networks. So when they have a case here in Indiana County with a name and they're doing a little background on it, they realize there's something going on in New Kensington, they don't have to just call that police department and ask for somebody. They can call and ask, hey, I know Bill down there, or I know Joe over here. I can call and talk to people that I know. And when they work with those professional relationships, it really helps to get these investigations higher up the ladder than we're used to seeing.
So when you have the culmination happening last week, there's already been a ton of work put into it. And your office has had to work hard, as have other law enforcement agencies and prosecutorial offices all across the country, it turns out, with the scope of this particular drug operation. You have to make sure that everything is done properly in terms of legal procedures in order to take it before a judge and pursue a conviction. So it's not that your work is over. Now the really detailed hard work continues, because you turn from the investigatory process into the prosecution process, and that's a whole other step.
It is. And another part of this investigation is, as we're working the cases, from the very beginning, we don't know whether they're going to turn to be federal prosecutions or state prosecutions. Mm-hmm. So we're making sure we're complying with both sets of laws there, because we really don't know where it's going to be, if it's large enough or if it's appropriate to be federal or if it has to go to state. Because a lot of these individuals being arrested are going to go federal, some of them are going to go state. But now it's the next important step. We've done the investigation. We've arrested the individuals. They're in custody, so they're not out in our community selling that garbage that they're selling. And now the important part is getting a conviction and putting them away for a significant period of time. Just on Friday, we had the culmination of another case in Brian Davenport. Mm-hmm. He was convicted of possession with intent to deliver on a couple cases, and he was sentenced to no less than 6 years and up to 13 years in state prison. And what that means is that individual won't be selling poison in our community for 6 to 13 years. Now with this roundup, we have over 70 individuals in state and federal court, and our goal is to have them away, because these are the significant dealers. These are not the individuals that are simply using drugs and selling a small amount to support their habit. Mm. Those individuals we look to get in a drug court and a treatment court and get them away from the substance abuse disorder. The individuals we rounded up, they are the for-profit, they are preying on people who are addicted to drugs, looking to make significant amount of money, and the only way we're going to stop them is putting them away in jail.
He's Indiana County District Attorney Bob Manzi. It's interesting that we get the news of this big raid happening, and then the very next day there's somebody sentenced in court, which is the other end of the process, and so that's I thought that juxtaposition of one case with another case was really, really interesting. So those go on. Investigations are always happening, and we don't hear of them until we get to the point where you get the big reveal, as we did last week. And we just assume that those sorts of investigations, that your eyes are always open and your ears are to the ground so that you can pick up on any of that sort of activity. And it'd be great if this meant, okay, it's all over. But that's not the case, does it?
No, it's certainly not over. And, as I've said before, there's always investigations. We have other investigations coming on that'll be coming out in the future. We'll continue the fight. We have DUI drivers that if we go out and arrest every DUI driver on a Friday night, there's going to be more on Saturday. Yeah. We're going to continue the fight. There is absolutely no use in our world for fentanyl and for heroin. And we are looking at those drug dealers. We are looking to go after them. Our hope is that they stop. Our hope is that they realize it's not good. Unfortunately, I believe they'll always be there, and we'll always continue fighting to take that off the streets. Because when you have college kids that are dying because they take what they think is an Adderall pill, but it turns out to be fentanyl, or we have people losing their lives taking what they think is a prescription drug and it's fentanyl, we're going to continue fighting with all of our partners. And I can't say enough about our partners, all of the municipal police departments in our county, the sheriff's office, our probation department, the state police, all of the feds. Everyone is committed to continuing that fight as long as our careers are going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, that's a drug case there, or drug cases in this case. And when you mention those law enforcement partners, you have to realize local police officers, state police officers, these are guys and gals that have to carry Narcan with them for themselves in case of accidental exposure to some of these substances, which could come at any second. And they have to be prepared for that. It really is a risky business, isn't it?
It's a terribly risky business. Our police officers deal with so many risks, whether it be, as you said, they come into accidental contact with a drug where, they have to be Narcan or they have to Narcan somebody else there. Whether they're entering a scene where they think, I'm going into a scene, a call, because one person's assaulting another. Next thing you know, both of them are assaulting the police officers. They deal with so much risk in every aspect of their career. Imagine a career where any given moment you could have a bullet flying at you. That's their career. Yeah. So the work they do, I can never praise enough what they do for our community.
It is absolutely amazing. All right, so while that is going on, there are other things happening. Of course, you're pursuing other court cases. There are some high-profile cases in Indiana County Court right now. There are some murder cases that are coming up, unfortunately. But there are some other things happening out there that, people might not think are so serious unless they're the victims of them. Scams are just everywhere right now, aren't they? And I know you're concerned about those.
Scams are everywhere. We see them every day. We have people call our office at least once or twice a week with a new scam that we're just hearing about. And we're continuing our education efforts. We're going on to all the senior centers this year. We have our schedule out. Myself, members of the Elder Abuse Task Force, We're going to be going out to every senior center in the county to try to educate about what the new scams are, what the old scams are. You know, they basically boil down to two different scams where you're trying to have somebody make an emergency decision that doesn't make much sense when they look back on it, or the scams where you try to deposit money and you send them a little bit and then meanwhile the check bounces. A lot of them really boil down to two main scenarios. But we always tell people to be on the lookout. Keep an eye on your credit card, on your debit card, on all of your accounts to make sure that whatever charges are there are yours. And if you don't know what they are, you question them with your bank, with your credit card company. And one of the biggest things is just trust your gut. If it sounds too good to be true, it is.
Yeah. All right. He's Indiana County District Attorney Bob Manzi. Anything special coming up in terms of events or just doing the hard work daily of the office?
We have all of our hard work daily. We will be having our senior summit in May. We are working with the YMCA. So on May 10th, we're going to be putting out information that we're going to have our senior summit then. We're working with individuals from the state, individuals locally. Sheriff Fyock will be there. The state police will be there. My office will be there, really to provide a lot of good information about what you can do to prevent yourself from being a victim of scams, what other services are out there for our seniors that they may not be aware of, and other ways that there's agencies and the counties that can help them with any of their needs.
Yeah. All right. So all of that is going on. If people do see activity that they think is suspicious, I know your office line is always open. You want to get that call.
Call our office anytime. Call your local police. Call your state police. When we're out at the senior centers or we're out at the fire halls talking, I always say our police officers would much, much prefer getting the call ahead of time asking us, hey, do you think this is a scam, rather than afterwards, because we know we can prevent crimes if you call us ahead of time. And we never mind a call to say, hey, do you mind taking a look at this for us? That's what we're here for.
Get out in front of it. Thanks so much for coming across the street again. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
He is Bob Manzi, the Indiana County District Attorney, joining us here this morning on the Voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160, and at WCCSradio.com. Fox News is up next at the top of the hour, and then Josh in the newsroom.
It's the Jeep Celebration event in Ram Truck Month going on now at Freedom Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram in Northern Cambria. Take 20% off selected